Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Regulars. I'm Stacey McGonigal.
My name is Jason DeRoss.
Yay! And I'm so excited for today. It's been in the making forever. Jason, it looks like you're trying to read your driver's license. Anyways,
I don't have a driver's license.
no, absolutely not. So we are so excited because today we are talking about a Tiger King. And oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. We're really excited because
Sound effect number one of hopefully some new Christmas presents this morning.
we do have some Christmas presents. But I would be remiss if we didn't just jump into our guest today because we loved him last week. We had to have him back. And I'm so excited. Please welcome Nigel Downer, everybody. Ooh, ooh.
Hey!
Hey. Whoa.
We are so excited to have you. I'm like, I can't even begin. I can't.
Thank you. I'm excited to be back. I'm elated. This is great. This is great.
Black Ron
This
is here in the
kind of
building
thing
with
that
Potato
defines
Dave.
Nigel Downer. He's already like again another new hat, but
New
also
hat.
changed posters.
Changed
in the
posters.
environment from last week.
Oh,
Like we're in a quarantine, and this guy's still just
Now, I don't want to brag.
interior decorating. Which
I
I guess everybody's doing right now.
I have had the good fortune to be in circumstances where I am Zooming with Nigel, and the numerous rooms he's in, I have to stop everything that's happening and going, show me around a little bit.
listen, man.
What are we doing?
Ran into some commercial money, and I'm just framing things now. I'm just framing everything.
Hell yeah.
Got so many posters,
If you live in Canada and the US, you will notice that Nigel's on every commercial known to man, and every time I see him, I go, God damn it, what's he buying with that money?
Yeah, frames.
You know he's going in at least double scale.
Yeah, at least minimum, man. Minimum double scale.
Yeah, he's not going in for scale stuff. Double residge on the back for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God. Well, I don't have a tiger shirt, but I did try and come correct with some paw prints and a big Labrador for today's Tiger King review. I tried to find some tiger noises, and let me tell you, scared me. So
Oh boy.
Yeah,
were like,
great.
Now, Jason, are you caught up? Because Nigel, you're done. I know I'm done.
Oh yeah, long time done.
Yeah, I finished last week. We got through in like essentially one more sitting. We're just like, all right, well, let's just do all the rest of them.
Sweet. Hold on. Let me just clarify. Are we getting into it right now?
We're getting into it right
we
now.
don't need to get into it right now. Do you need something, or do you need to prep, or what are we doing?
Yeah, just if we're getting into it, hold on one moment, please.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Hello.
this is so correct. I simply and utterly cannot. I'm so here for this in a way I'm not even prepared to tell you my excitements.
It's weird how fast things are changing in the news and everything. Because I feel like last week when we're like, we'll do Tiger King next week. We're like, yeah. And a week's gone by, and I feel like everybody's done it now. Like
Yeah,
Tiger King is just like it's like
Well, here's the thing.
so many.
I'm kind of glad that we're doing it now because I've come across something that I think I was talking about a couple
Is
days
this your
ago.
Wondery podcast?
The Wondery podcast. So there is actually a podcast about Tiger King that this guy spent, I think, a couple years with him, and while in tandem with the reality or with the documentary, and so much has come out where he was like, we'll get into it as we're going through, but he was like,
Yeah.
if we think for 1 second that this man is not a bad man, like you're crazy.
No, because I haven't looked at the chat yet, but I will say if Jameson's on here somewhere, we know these are all bad people.
Yes. Yeah, they are. I went through. I had to do a little refresher this morning as well, just to get everything back into the system because I quickly released it as soon as I finished watching the series. Yeah, they suck. Like they're just all
Fully.
bad people, man. It's crazy.
Oh
I
yeah.
haven't watched all the David Spade's interviewing a lot of the characters now, and when I say characters, the real people that are actually this
Yeah.
fucking insane.
Well, here's the thing. I think there's like a couple different types of Tiger King people. Okay. Now, there's Tiger King people who watch it and maybe didn't have the best upbringing and they're like, oh, there's all my cousins. Okay. That'd be me. Um, everyone's doing scams, right? Because why go to work when we can maybe pull a couple scams with some kitty cats?
Fair.
So there's some, and then there's some people who go, "Oh my god, people like that exist. This is heart wrenching."
Diana, get in here. Stop baking. Get in here.
Yeah.
Can you stop
praying? It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Just get in here.
Stop praying for our friends and family.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Jameson's already in the chat. He goes, "Oh, I know." He says, "I'm watching you guys talk about it because you're all better than them, and then I don't have to watch the rest." Well, Jameson, little known
The
fact.
bar is set very low. Or,
Oh, yeah.
Most people are better. But here's the thing. It's like, I wonder if this series is going to be attached to the pandemic, because I was just walking down around the street today.
100%.
We get out of the house, we go for a walk. And like every conversation, literally every conversation we walked by, you'd catch like a tidbit as you walk by, and everybody's talking about Tiger King.
Yeah.
Well,
I walked by, these two bros were sitting up on this balcony, and all you could hear was like, "Tiger King, bro." And I was like, what is happening?
we love that. I think that Tiger King, had we not been in this pandemic, would have been something that you've been like, "Hey, did you watch this Tiger King thing?" And then moved on. But because we need something to unify, which is why I love The Bachelor so much, it unifies a full community. We feel like we're in on something.
It defines the time a little bit, because we're all about sensationalism over like quality or
But this
whatever.
isn't
Like,
not
I don't want to
quality.
get into politics or whatever, but we've got like people like Boris Johnson or Donald Trump, love him, hate him, whatever it is. It's all sensationalism, and this is what the zeitgeist is, sort of. It's fucking weird.
It's sensationalism for sure, and it's also quantity, right? Like,
Mhm.
how much can we pump out? How much can we give the masses, or the people that are gonna work their 9 to 5, come home and just watch TV? How much can we give them? How fast can we give it to them? And it's like, these docs, I mean, I don't know how much they cost to make and produce and whatnot, but I mean, they've got to be cheaper than these wicked movies that we're getting. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's cheaper to make these, and then these, you can't write that stuff, man. You can't write it.
But I always get into like, how real is it? Like, it is. This one has to be, obviously.
Right.
This is a full-on documentary.
Yeah.
However, so in one of the episodes, all the footage gets, I don't know if we're going through this episode by episode.
Well, let's start from the beginning. I think we can start. Yeah, I mean, we're going to be all over the place. I mean, it is the regulars.
Then my question is to you guys: how did they have all this footage? I know that he said, "Follow me around with the camera every day."
He filmed his
but
entire
then
life.
When the warehouse burned, he's like, "I lost everything." I'm like, "No, you didn't. I just watched everything."
Okay, well,
you didn't lose everything.
No, listen, I don't want to brag, but I did, listen to some podcasts. So here's the juice on this. Did my research.
All right.
Yeah, should have powdered before the pod. Now, okay, so basically what happened was Joe Exotic filmed everything. I think out of like paranoia and the want for fame. And also he has, and it's still standing, a YouTube channel called like Joe Exotic TV that you can watch. And it's quite sad, and it's just him yelling about Carol Baskin. So, but he filmed everything. So we had the people shooting a documentary with their footage. We had that weird guy who kept calling himself a producer, smoking a million. Yeah. He's like, like whatever, smoking a million cigarettes. His footage.
Yeah, that guy had 18 coffees that day and still had no energy.
It's still
the ashtray was just chock full of cigarettes and just a coffee, and I was trying to count to see if it would ever go up or go down. Pretty consistent.
That's like continuity, watching the clock in the background on Grey's Anatomy, being like, what time is it? Did they fuck up?
Also, when are we going to talk about him like pretending like him living there and eating there was like just part of the gig? It's like, I think he needed a place to stay, and I need you to just admit that.
That archive film was my gold mine.
I was gonna listen. I wasn't messed up. I was about to be a millionaire. I'm like, I doubt it.
Yeah, no. And I like all the footage that he pulled when they talked about him, or I guess the director pulled.
Oh,
when
yeah.
they talked about him. But Rick, like from Inside Edition, he's like, "Oh, well, I've done this and I've done this." Like, nobody he's hung out with is really famous. I mean, there's a couple people, but I was like,
Sean Redumner.
Yeah, Sean Redumner.
We laugh, but we love Sean. He's a Canadian.
first of all,
a Canadian,
we love Sean.
Gift.
But did you all have the reaction when you saw Sean Majumder? You just went, "No, Sean!"
What? How did I not know about this? Oh yeah, that's right. I probably don't watch this hour as 22 minutes.
Sean, no!
Oh, come on, man. Damn.
Of course, the only Canadian imprint on this whole docu-series is Sean Majumder in a glitter cowboy hat and blouse.
Which at the time he was like, "This is going to be an awesome bit," but then it comes in the documentary. He's like, "Oh no, this is what people think."
Tiger
he thinks
abuse,
this is
fraud,
my journalistic
murder.
integrity.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing.
Man.
So
What?
I was gonna say, there's people in the chats being like, "Spill the beans." I haven't seen it all yet, but go nuts. So like, do we want to, for people that maybe haven't watched it all, kind of recap it before we keep just Baskins a little bit?
Well, I just started recapping it, and I took a breath. Okay, and then basically it's about Joe Exotic, and then the peripheral people around him that are for him and against him, and also the culture of independent zoos. So Joe Exotic is like a crazy drug addict, drunk, allegedly, but they pretty much say that. And then there's a wonderful addition named Carol Baskins, who is part of the Big Cat Rescue, and she's against these independent zoos, and she's trying to save the cats. Guys, jump in if I'm missing anything.
You're not. It's like Making a Murderer too. They kind of make you go back and forth each episode about how you feel about each person. Like they're all dirt bags, but like who's the biggest dirt bag?
And
then
they
they're
all
like, well, Carol
are.
Baskett's a big cat rescue person, but she still does essentially all the same thing Joe Exotic does. With
Right.
the
So
pets.
Carol Baskin says she's saving these big cats, but when they get into her sort of episode, her big cat rescue is also not great for the animals. They're still in cages, and she's basically
She's
running
still
a
making
zoo.
hand over fist.
Yeah, she's running a zoo.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. It's Carol at Big Cat Rescue.
For reference, that's how insane she sounds.
First of all, I love you too. And I love all of this right now. Anyways, carry on.
Hello, all you cats and kittens. It's me, Carol Baskins of the Big Cat Rescue. And then she'll be like, Tickles had a really big day. He had some scratches on his butt, and he got transported to the south of the field. Like, so she has this huge social media. Anyways, she hates Joe Exotic. She wants to take him down. And Joe Exotic, because he's not stable, wants to murder her. So that's basically.
And can we talk about how Carol Baskins is married to probably Mitch McConnell's brother? Like,
oh my God, his neck. I called him Mr. Pelican.
Yeah, Howard Baskin. The guy is
Yes, coming in with the names.
Yeah, man. He just like his posture is always pretty perfect. His Walmart khakis are also pretty perfect. Just puts his denim shirts tucked into his khakis all day, every day.
I think sex between those two is like an instructional video.
No, absolutely not. You're wrong. Because this is why you're wrong. They are freaky in the goddamn sheets, because if you see
she wears cat outfits for sure.
Yeah.
So does he. Have you not seen the episode where she has him by a leash?
He wears her cat outfits.
Yeah. First of all, he has their wedding photo. He's like in a cat outfit, and she's holding him by a leash, and they're both into it and smiling. They're freaky. They're not looking
at. She was a better actor then, because like that must be like, okay, you're a cat. Meow, meow. Like that's gonna be his.
No, I think he was probably like meow, meow.
Okay, so they're freaks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, so we have someone.
I mean, this is there's Donatel, which we haven't really talked about. Donatel is another guy that owns another one of these big cat zoos, and he's got like 8 wives that are all half his age.
I do want to stop just 1 second, because we have some intel in the chat. Okay, and it is from Olivia, and she says, I live in Texas and went to the park multiple times and remember thinking how sketchy everyone that worked there was, except Saf, who was the staff member who lost their arm and was like, I got to go back to work. So
5 days
Olivia,
after having her arm eaten by a tiger, she was back at work, because she's like, well, the media was just going to run with this if I didn't just go back to work and make it all right.
Yeah, and I love how the doctors were like, we can save your hand. And she goes, not an option. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
like, it's going to take a year of reconstruction surgery. She's like, no thanks. Just cut it off.
I got to go back to work. Who is that person that just dropped that? What was that name?
Olivia in the chat.
And Olivia has been there. Olivia from Texas.
Yeah, do we have
Olivia Romo from Texas?
So Olivia,
is she married? Is she the daughter of a famous quarterback?
Oh
Is what's
my
happening?
God.
Oh, get out of here! Anyway, shout out to Olivia. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Now, Olivia, I would like to know what the shows were like with Joe Exotic. I'd like to know his hosting, what you thought about his hosting. Did he talk about Carol Baskins?
Olivia's got a picture of herself with Saf before the arm incident.
Oh, wow. Huge.
That's interesting.
That's crazy. So, okay, so we are going to be all over the place. Now, at first I was like, I thought Joe Exotic was, I mean, the thing that's crazy about this whole docuseries, so if you're in the chat and you're letting us ruin it for you, that's great, because I honestly think if you watch it, even though you know the story, like we're going to scratch the surface in this pod. Like there's...
And I'll tell you this, if you're only a couple episodes in, I was like immediately like, oh, this is about the murder of either Carol Baskins or someone. Nobody dies in this. Nobody dies, which was actually a big letdown for me.
Yeah, spoiler alert, nobody dies. Also,
he's just in jail for
22
being
years.
Joe Exotic.
Well, first of all, many tigers die. They're found on the property.
I said people. No, I guess I said nobody. Tigers are people too, guys.
Yeah, man. Yeah, animal rights gonna be all over your ass, pal.
Oh, hell yeah.
So we've covered the three main people, right? So obviously Joe Exotic, Carol Baskin, and Bhagavan Doc Antle. Right?
Whoa. And then
Doc
Jeff.
Antle. Okay,
and Jeff what?
Yeah.
Jeff Lewin?
So Jeff Lowe.
Yeah, Lowe.
He's like the fourth guy. So he's the guy that all of a sudden swoops in and ultimately ends up buying the farm from Joe, right?
He's essentially like one of those characters that show up in like the fourth season and you're like, what? Because he shows up in the fourth episode out of stuff. I'm like, this is like when if you watch Beverly Hills 90210 when like that other girl showed up and was the main character. You're like, no, I can't.
Also, sorry,
Valentine. I think her name was something Valentine.
Yeah.
I was about her for sure. I loved her so much. The 90210 only got good for me when she showed up.
Ooh. Okay.
No.
Oh, don't offend the 90210 crew.
Yeah. No.
They're very prominent in the chat.
The original 90210 we're talking about, not the.
Oh hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, I love the original 90210. Steven or Ian Zaring just wearing crop tops running in the beach, and it like looked good at the time. Also, Jason, there is a death in Tiger King. Travis.
Oh snap. Yeah.
I would say
I don't know who it is.
I would say this documentary
includes, there is a death in Tiger King.
It is the most, I would say it's, for me, I don't know how you all feel, it was the most shocking footage I have ever seen of just...
Yep. I can't believe they showed that.
I know. You know, yeah. And like he's just sitting there, so. Anyways, we're jumping all over the place. So let's get from the top, and then we'll move
talk
into
about it for a quick second, because this, as you all know, if you've listened to the podcast before, my life has changed since I've been a dad. The only character that I felt for in this entire thing was Travis's mom, and I was like, "This
Travis's
is insane."
Mom. First of all, she was a piece of shit. She was a full piece of shit. She was fully on drugs.
Be at a funeral for her son.
She was on drugs for sure at that funeral. Allegedly,
sure.
But give me a break.
I would still give it to her, because who cares? Dope up all you want. You've got Joe Exotic karaokeing his own songs during your son's
Jason,
funeral.
Jason, your heart is pure, but you're delusional.
No, I felt for that woman.
What about the poor kid who killed himself? Maybe that's
her son.
Yeah, but I don't think she gave him the best life. So he ended up
I think she was trying.
I will say, okay. Yeah, I can't. Travis's mom, everyone's saying, Travis's mom sold him to the Tiger King for meth. That's what people are saying. allegedly, but it tracks.
Chat room, you're not wrong.
Not wrong.
You are not wrong.
Not wrong.
Yeah, but to just to touch back on that footage, man, like it's one of those things where, because it's left to your imagination, and we've all watched enough TV, we've all watched enough fictional stuff, that when you see Homeboy's reaction sitting in the chair, and you can see every step of what's happening without actually seeing Travis shoot himself. You know what I mean? Like, you can see the guy sitting there being like, wait, okay, man, And they did a really great job of setting it up too, saying that
Oh
he's
yeah.
always pointing guns at people, always pointing guns at people. Then he's in the office, and you can see the guy's face being like, "Okay, you know what? You should settle down." And then it's like, bam, and you're just like, and he is just sitting there,
Yeah.
shocked, and almost like, "Is this a joke?" And I could only imagine what that would be like.
Right, because you see it
Yeah.
on TV all the time when you see these reactions of like, you know, someone getting shot or like a huge thing. Everyone's like, ah, instantly. But it was like the stillness of that moment
Yeah.
was jaw dropping to me. It
But
was
also because
unbelievable. And how
Yeah.
you know how
long
you
it
watch things and
was.
you're like, at least I watch it through the lens on reality shows. I'm like, is this real or is this not real? Are they setting this up? Is this a Bachelor sort of overproduced thing? And that was like, you would say, well, that guy's not reacting naturally, but I think it was so actually naturally his reaction because he was in shock for like 60 seconds.
No, for
For
sure.
sure.
But that moment was so long and it was just like, it was utterly shocking. And it just, every episode gave me like a pit at the bottom of my stomach where I was like, oh my God.
Because on top of it, he didn't mean. So for those who didn't watch it, the Travis just off camera pulled out a gun, was joking around about shooting people, and then he goes, "Nah, it doesn't have a clip in it. It doesn't thing." And then I guess he pointed it at his own head as a joke
Yeah.
and pulled the trigger, which is so he didn't even mean to kill himself.
No.
Even though they have footage kind of looped up that day. It looks like it's that day going like, "This is gonna be my last cigarette," and then I'm offing myself or something like that.
Well, I think
Which he might
it's
not even have said on that day.
I think it's really clear that I mean, like, first of all of these zookeepers in this docu-series have multiple partners, which made me feel like sitting at home, you know, I'm a normal gal. And, you know, it's tough out here for me, just solo. You know, it's tough.
Yeah, because Doc had multiple wives,
and maybe
Multiple.
still has.
yeah,
'Cause-
probably. And then we're introduced to Jeff, and Jeff's rolling around taking tigers to the strip, and he's got tons of girls too. It's so wild. It's like, what is happening here?
Rolling
was
around
standing
taking
inside-
tigers to the strip is nuts.
He was doing an office style confessional to the camera with his pregnant young wife beside him, and it's like, pussy gets pussy. And you could see her look over and be like, I think I'm supposed to laugh here. My dad/husband just made a joke.
I can't. First of all, I cannot. Like, my favorite was at the end when she's super pregnant. He goes, "We're gonna get a hot nanny," and she's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay."
And
And
then
she's
he
like,
just
"The
starts
hottest."
going through like the Tinder of nannies. And I'm also surprised there's all these nannies that are like, I'll be good. Like there's pictures of them like
Tons.
It's
obviously
and then,
posing that way.
and then I mean, we're first introduced to Joe Exotic's first husband.
Oh
and
yeah.
we're like, oh, okay,
John,
okay. And
yeah.
then all of a sudden, quickly, we're introduced to the fact that he gets married to two dudes.
Oh yeah. That wedding was
Wild, man.
the wedding was crazy. The wedding was like everyone was on
Oh.
drugs, allegedly. Ugh. And
Someone on the chat just alluded to that they have more partners than they have teeth. So
it was wild. Like, I mean, when I was listening to the podcast about it, you know, it's like very clear that drugs were like so prevalent. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I think if I was a kid going to that zoo, I would not leave happy. I would leave with like, what's happening? Oh, apparently Olivia says they posted a picture of their new nanny on the zoo page. Oh God.
Oh,
Oh
no.
jeez. But it was just like, yeah, the teeth were all gone. Although I just saw
So this story's not over.
okay.
No, it's actually not. Oh, sorry.
No,
You
no,
go,
no,
Stace.
no, Nige, please go ahead.
Yeah, it's not, because first of all, we still don't know about Carol Baskin's, like, the murder that is still under investigation, man. We have no idea about that.
They just reopened
They
it
just
this week, I
reopened
think.
it. So let's switch gears for a second to Carol Baskins.
Right.
So they've reopened the case.
Carol
because-
Baskins is every person in sketch is like, can't wait to be Carol Baskins.
Baskin.
Basket.
Welcome to Baskin Robbins. Can I get you a little bit of
May I suggest
Hey, all you
Tiger
cool cats
Tail?
and kittens,
Or
it's Carol
Tiger
the Big Cat
Tail?
Rescue.
Sorry, I pressed that by accident while this was happening. No, so
Stacy, just before you get, because I'm sorry, I'm all over the place and cutting you off today, but
thank
and I'll
you.
stop doing that.
No, you
But
won't.
someone in the podcast is asking if they can get the link put up for that podcast because people want to listen to it too.
Yeah, I'll put it in the descriptor once this stream is done. You can come back and
Yes.
I'll have it there. But it's the podcast that got me into the main podcast is Kate Casey's podcast. So if you look up Kate Casey on your wherever you look up podcasts, Reality Life, and it says Tiger King, so you can check that one out. And then the Wondery links are there for his. Now the problem is they're releasing these podcasts. He's already released his full podcast series, but now Wondery's like, we're going to do it week by week, and I went, no, because we're not going to be talking about Tiger King much longer, and you should have just released it fully. But they want money, right? They want advertising dollars. Mistake.
Yeah, Netflix is going to come out with something else. Everybody's going to be releasing things over the next little bit because we're all in our houses watching TV.
Now let's get into Carol Baskins, because at first you think, oh, this is just a lady who's saving cats, and then you realize her story, and you're like, this woman is something.
She's a psycho on a mountain bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's not enough.
Do you remember
onion
how odd
to
it was when
peel.
you first saw Kermit the Frog on a bike, and you're like, that looks odd. For some reason, in a different way, I also saw like just awkwardness as she's riding the bike.
You know what? That would have been funny if you just left it at, hey, remember the first time you saw Kermit on a bike and just didn't finish?
The first time you see Kermit on a bike, you go, I don't think Santa's real. Like that's the first thought.
Every epiphany in your childhood comes into mind once you see Kermit on a bike.
Yeah, you just see him on a bike and you're like, I think my parents have sex. You're like, ugh.
I don't think my parents, I think they're staying together for us.
Ugh. I think my parents make me go to bed at 7 because they need a break.
Wait a second. I don't think he's my real dad.
Why do I call my dad Peter and everyone else calls him Dad? Oh my God. So Jenny Cirillo has some intel in the chat, and that's my sign for intel. And she's saying someone who volunteered at Big Cat Rescue did an AMA on Reddit yesterday with some insights on Carol Baskins. And to that I say, put them in our chat. Put them in our chat. Go ahead.
Also, that's a good thing to bring up. A couple of the reviews I was watching this morning, one of the guys was like, hey, think about it. And I thought about this too, especially during, but now that just brought it to the light, is that Joe Exotic, he paid his employees, but they had really shitty like accommodations, right?
Oh, yeah.
He paid them in dumpster Walmart meat is what he paid
which
them.
is ridiculous. And they just ate that shit up. But and then Carol, she had volunteers.
Levels, tiers of them. Yeah.
Tiers of volunteers, man. But they're both doing the same kind of crappy thing in terms of having this no-frills zoo that's nobody had a proper education to do any of the jobs that they were doing.
None.
Nobody.
Well, I think
there's a lot of these. And what if you are like Devin Basquez and you're like, I have a zoo. I'm crazy. Where's my documentary? What the hell's going on? I live down the street from Joe. Because there's a bunch of these things, and I'm sure because we lived in a place near Bowmanville, and the Bowmanville Zoo, if you don't know, was also one of these. It was big. They had a big tiger one, and I've been.
I think the thing is, ultimately, what these three people like Doc, Joe, Carol, is they're building very cult-like behavior. People need community. People who feel lost find themselves in these situations, and then they feel like they can't leave. Like that one woman who we're supposed to believe is, has half sane when she's got that beautiful dog. What breed is that? When she left Doc's place and she's like, yeah, they set up me to get some breast implants, and I just thought, oh, I need a couple days off. Yeah, sure. I was like, what?
Immediate shot to her breasts. Immediate.
Yeah. Oh, immediate. And they were just so big. And she was like,
yeah.
And she's like, I appreciated the day off. I was like, are you okay? And she's like, I never was with Doc. I thought about it. I'm like, can we follow up? Like, what happened to this woman? How did she leave? Like, why did her dad drop her off at like 17? Like, what is happening here?
And his dad, as a joke, goes, don't fall in love with the owner.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
I'm not dropping my 17-year-old daughter off anywhere and making that joke. No. That's insane.
Jan, Two Little Sammys got some intel. She goes, I once fed a jelly bean to an elephant at the Bowmanville Zoo. They'll let you do anything. That is a Kermit on a bike
my God.
situation.
I think the most innocent picture on the planet would be Jan Carawata feeding a jelly bean to an elephant. I want that T-shirt.
I just think it's crazy. So Carol Baskins, first of all, let's talk about how she allegedly murdered her husband and how that case disappeared. It seems unbelievable to me.
Well, to the AMA that Jenny Cirillo was, and I kind of thought this too. I'm like, they need, just like in Making a Murderer,
Jason,
they
can you
need to make
scooch over?
it go either way when it's like,
Can you scooch
obviously the guy killed it. What's that?
Jason, can you just move over because you're leaning? No, the other way. Oh my God.
Yes.
To his wife, I say, I get it.
I got nothing else.
We know. Now move over.
But did they paint her in this way because they needed foil to Joe Exotic?
Oh, sorry. Did they paint her because her millionaire husband disappeared and nothing ever happened?
Well, the AMA said that they really painted her in a bad light, and she's actually a great person.
Oh, I bet you.
Jenny Cirillo was saying.
Okay. Yeah.
But
No.
yes, a lot of those guys were like, when they sort of like these guys that weren't even really in the doc, and they just sort of like some other guy, they're like, oh, Carol, yeah, she killed her husband. Like that was like all of them were like.
Well, first of all, so she didn't have. I think the basis is like all of these people did not have an easy upbringing. They had really bad lives, and they weren't great. And so, like Carol was basically like she was in survival. But then they were saying that, in the podcast that her whole thing was she didn't want a boring life. Like she had a boring life growing up, and she was like, I will not have a boring life. And then she was like a homeless teen and like was obviously very self-sufficient and very street smart, and then all of a sudden she meets this old millionaire man who apparently like in the podcast it says tried to get her into his car, and she was like no, and then he let her hold his gun, and he was like, you can hold my gun until you're comfortable, and she's like, all right, gets in the car, and then she gets comfortable, drops the gun, and then apparently he like choked her apparently and was like, I could kill you right now, and she was like, do it. Like that's not
none of that
in
was
the
in the Netflix show.
This is what they said in the podcast. They're like, they don't unpack
This is
Carol.
real Sid and Nancy shit. I like this.
She was like, do it. And then
he was like, I'm in love.
Yeah, they both thought that. And then they started this affair for many years because she was married quite young. And then anyways, it doesn't sound like it ended up being a very tumultuous marriage.
Well, the one clip that they did obviously put in there so everyone went, oh, was at one point, if you haven't seen the documentary, Joe's like, they all tried to kill me. They put cologne on my boots. And then the tiger went after his boots for some reason.
Oh, yeah.
But then they cut to Carol. She goes, well, that's not true. They would get weird about cologne. But what you'd want to do is you would want to like rub spam on the boots and pretty much anywhere in the body. And then they'll go for it for sure. I'm like, that's what you did to your husband. Whatever you just said, because I said it wrong. That's what you did to your husband.
And did you hear the point where they said a tiger's stomach is so acidic that like there would be no bones left? Like there would be nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like that. What was that famous movie where like it was like one of these Goodfella type movies where like just feed them to the pigs? Oh, it was Snatch, I think.
Oh, Snatch.
Yeah,
Snatch.
just like feed them to the pigs, and then there'll be nothing left over.
Yeah.
This is essentially Snatch retold. Is
Now,
what this movie is.
Allegedly, I'm not saying that Carol Baskins killed her husband. Allegedly, I'm not saying that. But I will say, in my opinion, something happened. It might have been murder. But she knows more than what she's saying. And when she's like, oh, yeah, those rumors about me murdering my husband, I would be like, I didn't do it. Like, I would be, don't you think?
Yeah.
I'd be Kermit on a bike
Murders
going,
about
didn't
me?
murder.
Anyways, over here is I painted this. It's one of the tigers. I love it.
And I
She
also
just changes the subject.
Yeah, how she's always like, oh my, could you imagine? How would I do that?
Yeah. How would I do that left alone with my old husband?
Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, she rolls her eyes like it's a punchline.
Yeah.
How would I do that? You're talking to a judge.
And she's like, oh, did I mention he had dementia and couldn't read? It's like, what? She's just like naming things. Well, I couldn't have murdered him because he couldn't read or write. So, and then they're saying
Good point.
they didn't check her car for days. They didn't check up on her alibis. They
Because
didn't
then
dust
they're like,
prints.
your brother was the investigating officer. She's like, I don't know my brother that well.
Oh, we're not even that close. But I love how she goes, my brother and I aren't that close, but the fact that he became a sheriff, if you know him at all, that doesn't make sense. I was like, what?
I'm like, yeah, do you know him at all? Because you just said you didn't know him at all.
Sounds like you know
I'll
your
tell you
family
this,
tree.
At 7 years old, I would have never told you he would have grown up to be a private investigator. I'll tell you that much.
When we were living together for a couple of years, I will tell you this, but we're not that close. We're not friends. I don't know him at all. But I was with him the night of the murder, and I can tell you he was my alibi. Don't know him at all. Turned out he was my brother. Oh,
For Christmas, he gave me a few cans of Spam. They came in handy. I won't tell you how.
Let me just tell you, they didn't end up in our tummies. They might have ended up on the tops of our shoes. Hi, cats and kittens. Yeah, sorry. Audrey just said, did you talk about why Carol is always shown walking, biking in slow-mo? And I'm sadly, if you scroll back, Audrey, when you hear Kermit, stop there. We related her to Kermit the Frog riding a bike. No, but I think that for sure.
Birds suddenly appear.
Just spindly legs off rhythm on her bike.
Kind of just trying to keep it straight.
I like that she. The thing about
I bet as she was chopping her husband up and feeding to the tiger, she was singing the Rainbow Connection, the lovers, the dreamers,
So
and me.
you think allegedly that she chopped him up?
No, I don't think she went through that.
I think
she
she
did mention chopping up bodies at one point. They were going to chop my body. I'm like, well, you don't have to chop them up when you give them to a tiger.
Well, first of all, a couple things. When she is in slow-mo on the bike, I felt like she knew they were shooting her in slow-mo. Like she was just like, like she knew what was happening. Also, I think that, I think something happened with, do you think the tigers ate her? Let's just say it outright. Do you think that she fed her husband to the tigers?
I think that this documentary spun it that way, but I also would not be surprised if it came out and she goes, you know what? I did it. Who cares?
Yeah.
What's the statute of limitations, kittens? What's that? Okay. Well, Carol did it.
Olivia, they're loving your Carol impression. They said she sounds like Doris Burke.
I just like a woman who sort of slowly talks like this.
Can I say for your next next SNL tape,
Oh,
Doris Burke is on the top of that list.
My
Yes,
my
100%.
next SNL tape, please. Yeah, I'm definitely the age demographic for SNL. You want a woman who's 34, divorced?
I can do Bonnie Hunt, Doris Burke, and Greta Garbo.
Well,
which one would you like to see first?
well, let me get my koosh balls.
The
I
door?
wasn't planning on doing this. But do you guys like Rosie O'Donnell? Okay. Kids are punny.
And then you just take out a bunch of koosh balls and shoot
Yeah.
them across the stage.
Hey, Lorne, are you a fan? I'm flirting with you. No, unfortunately, Kate McKinnon's got that one. Okay, but do you think that she murdered her husband? And allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Are you nuts?
I feel like she probably got somebody else to do it. There's a lot of that in this show too.
There's tons
Yeah,
of
there
that.
seems to be like people just walking around North Carolina being like, "You need somebody dead."
Yeah. Like just handing out business cards that say like "Hitman"
I
or just,
can
like, "Killer for hire."
kill at a reasonable price. Someone walking around.
What
They're
you-
taking
what
out
you doing?
infomercials like used car salesmen.
It's like, hey.
Yeah.
What was the price for Carol? $3,000 or 5,000?
Yeah, it wasn't even that
they were
much.
like, he was pretty cheap at 3,000. I mean, like, you pay 20 grand normally for something like that.
I was like 3,000.
Or-
Damn, man.
We talk about the hitman in the tub who's just like, "Hua, hua." I'm like, he hasn't seen a tub in years. He's like, you guys mind if I hop in? And the drop guys are like, get in, dude. He was like,
Good old Alan is Alan. That
Alan.
guy's name's Alan Glover or something.
I like when they're like, yeah, he has a teardrop, so that means he's murdered. I was like, you sound like
hardcore.
me. Like, I'm like, hey, if someone has a teardrop on their face, usually in prison, that means they've murdered. Like, it was.
Yeah, they've murdered, or he knows Little Wheezy, he knows
Oh, yeah.
Lil Wayne, or
Lil
Birdman.
Wayne.
He knows somebody that can give him a nice little tap right here.
I can't. First of all, the fact that all someone needs to do to murder someone is $3,000 is nuts to me.
Wait, hold on.
But it's
$3,000.
not. I think that's where they spun the angle that it was all a setup for Joe. This is where they spun.
Wait,
that
hold
angle
on.
of,
What's
like,
Nigel? What were you saying?
$3,000, and also you can just ask a handyman to do that. Just a new guy who just drops on your farm. The guy's worked there for 2 weeks, and you're like,
it's on the
hey,
responsibility list.
my bad. That's on me. My bad. You're right. I spoke out of turn. I didn't know what they
I need you to clean the gutters. You'll have to feed the tigers. That's crazy, huh? We might have to kill somebody at some point, so you're gonna have to go do that.
Oh, and the hedges, you have to keep them even.
The thing that was crazy to me about the hit on Carol is in the podcast I was listening to, and I guess I keep referring, and I will put it in the description below. But the guy's like, make no mistake, like this guy asked everyone to kill Carol, and it wasn't like, hey, I wish she was dead, like annoyed. It was like, will you take this cash and go murder her? He was like, he for sure was wanting someone to do that. He also apparently, Joe was convincing everyone that he had cancer. So like out of pity. So that's how he got John, his ex-husband, to come back to the zoo. And he kept saying to the guy on the podcast, like, well, I'm dying anyways. So once I get my life, like once I know how much time I have left, I'm going to kill Carol Baskins. Allegedly. But I think he was I don't think he was like, I think he wanted her murdered. And the way that Jeff and Joe were talking, like they had it planned out. Like Jeff just pulls up Google Maps and goes, this is how you'd kill her. Like, what?
But
Oh,
that's where they planted the scene in the viewers' minds that it was set up by Joe and his handyman that he'd brought in, who was a former convict that was probably in jail for murder. And they're like,
I don't think
this is what it is.
I don't think it was set up.
Tell me this. A documentary like this was all of this crazy shit, and the only guy that has lost his legs lost them from his zip lining.
I love that guy's story when he's like, you'd think these got eaten by a lion. Zip lining. I was like,
I would have just kept the camera on him and just let him just give you the face like
100%.
okay, just let it sink in. Like, okay.
Yeah, like, and then he goes, oh no, I saved my legs. It's just I worked too much on my feet at the old zoo, so they had to cut them off. I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah, everybody's getting things cut off. They're like, god damn it, I got a blister on my knee. Let's lose the leg.
Lose the leg.
Back to work.
Yeah, I don't think
man.
that. I think that Jeff is a con man. He has shark death eyes. Please don't come at me, okay?
Yeah, don't matter.
No, but yeah, he was creepy from the beginning, and but I don't know if he was that elaborately set up. I also think that they're going deeper into all of the shenanigans, and I feel like Jeff will be going to prison as well. Is
Right.
Don't you think?
I think that he'll Matthew McConaughey the judge. at some
How?
point.
He wears a bandana.
Everything he said, he was like, "Hey man, it's not like I'm an angel. I mean, like I've done shit, but
I don't think he
We've all-
has.
we've all
No,
done shit, right?
Jeff is the
We
guy.
all-
No, Jeff, we haven't.
Yeah, exactly.
We all
Jeff.
drove a car before we were 16. We all stabbed our stepmother in their sleep, right? We've all done these little things.
Jason, you are being more charming than Jeff has ever been.
All right.
I relate to Joe a little bit when he gets mad and he goes, "What?" He's like, "Jeff only can have sex if he pays for it." It's like when he was running for governor and he's like, "I'm gay, I'm broke as shit," and he's like, "Vote for me!" Like he was.
But
Yo,
he
that
came
kid-
in third. He came in third,
Yeah.
not by like he had like 18% of the population was like, "That's my guy."
Yeah.
This is where we are.
I feel like Jeff.
It's insane.
Jeff was like that guy in our high school who showed up with a mustache who's like, I've had sex with at least 7 women. And you're like, no, you haven't, man. And he's just like,
They were all my babysitter.
I can't even have babysitters because I'm too hot, and they fall for it every freaking time. It's like, no, they
Every
don't.
time.
Yeah, this is my
Doesn't your
girlfriend.
grandmother look after you? Damn straight.
Ew.
The whole bridge team.
You guys ever play canasta? By canasta, I mean boner that I've used.
Jameson as also doesn't Jones sound like Beetlejuice? Yeah,
I feel like
he would do a good Beetlejuice.
So David has also asked about the sweet Southern stylings of his music. Now, Joe's music. Now, when I watched,
we didn't even touch the music.
Here's the thing. A quick sidestep for a second. The fact that they're trying to make a series out of Tiger King is a mistake, because watching the series as a comedian myself was like, you can't parody it because it's too insane. I would never think to like heighten it to the way that it did. So I don't need to see people pretending to be these characters. They're interesting.
So you just
enough.
go the opposite way and you make it a Grey's Anatomy with these characters.
This is your second Grey's Anatomy show?
Yeah.
What's going on with you? This is the second time you brought up Grey's Anatomy. You watching it?
I've never seen an episode.
It's nuts the way that you bring up things you've never seen. It's actually unsettling.
Yeah.
I know the premise.
It's kind of my favorite bit. Like, I've watched the show enough to know that where does the thing Jason's going to talk about almost convince us all until Stacey calls him out and then truth comes out.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about Butterfly Effect all the time. I've never seen it. I don't know if I'm talking about the right thing.
Okay, so
Stacey,
what?
Olivia just tweeted the creepy nanny photo at you.
Oh, great. We'll put it on our Instagram. This is perfect. Thank you. Olivia's
And what's the Clinton John? There's so much going on in the chat today. You guys are all helping each other out, and I really appreciate it because there's so much going down.
Essentially,
at one time, Tiger ketamine was brought up.
Oh,
I want this.
So basically, Joe's singing career, when I was watching it, I was like, that's not him singing for sure. He sounds like a Christopher Guest character. There's no way he's like, his singing would be like, hey, y'all. And apparently, this is confirmed, and it's also confirmed in the chat, that he paid someone to write and sing these songs. And then he stopped paying them, and then they outed him. And it's talked about in the podcast series as well. I'm telling you guys, we're going to finish this pod and then listen to all the other pods.
Oh, jeez.
It's a Milli Vanilli sort of scenario. Although I think I was told he used it as a backtrack, so he would go sing stuff, but he would sing it.
He would softly sing it above it.
Heavy.
Well, he did that at Travis's funeral, right? Like you could hear the backtrack and then him singing on top of it, which was also like just what choice was that? Yeah. But,
and then he got married 2 months later to another guy,
a young teen boy.
Yeah. Did you also see when he was on the way to that date? So he got ready, shaved and stuff. Then he went to go pick out a jacket. Literally, all of them were the same, except they're just one was brown, one was black, but they're all the same.
I said the same thing when that shot came.
Jackets.
When that shot came, I was like, "This is Homer Simpson's closet. Like it's literally all the same outfit hanging."
And
out.
Him thinking like, found my date jacket right here. It's like, what? Like you literally could have just swiped and just grabbed one, dude. They were all the same.
It
was crazy.
It's so tough. And like his apartment, like obviously he's a sad guy, but his apartment just looked like it smelled like cat pee. And it just I was like, that smells like piss.
Tiger cat pee.
Tiger cat pee. And I was like, what's with all the freaking carpeting in these trailers? I couldn't handle it.
When you walk, it squishes.
Oh, Jay, Jesus.
You know what? Thanks for having me, guys. I'm out.
Do you know what's going to be the worst? If we do get out of here before Halloween, if we're not quarantined still at Halloween, everybody's going to be Joe Exotic.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think there's going to be something else. I will tell you, the Travis funeral was crazy in that it was so sad, and his mom was fully on drugs in the front row, allegedly, for sure, probably allegedly. And also, Joe just kept talking about Travis's balls. Did you notice that?
Yeah, Tasha just put that in the thread.
Oh, did she?
Golden balls in his face.
Oh my God. Hey, love balls.
And the way he delivered it was like it was one of the greatest punchlines. Everybody's just gonna die, and nobody did a thing.
Yeah.
Not.
It's
It
like one
was.
of those terrible wedding speeches when the best man thinks it's hilarious to bring up all the frat pranks they did together, and
Yeah.
everyone's like,
You mean
"Stop."
you? Do you mean you?
So I can tell you by experience, those speeches don't go over well. I've tried it 6 times.
6-0. You tried it 6-0.
Oh yeah.
One time I wasn't even invited to the wedding.
I think of all of our friends. Jason could easily go to a wedding he doesn't know, like anyone at, and give a speech and be the highlight of the night. I think. Do you think?
I'm gonna try
Yeah.
it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, I used to go.
That's that theory.
I got invited to a bunch of weddings during the summer. This is like years ago, and I went to like 3 or 4 weddings just to be the dance floor starter, like just
No.
to go and
I believe that.
I went to like 4 weddings through friends, and I didn't know the bride, the groom, or anybody, and I went as the +1 just so I could start the dance floor.
I mean, that makes sense. You
I
like
believe
to
that.
bring the vibe. If you're like, okay, this is what we're doing tonight, and you're like, then this is the level we start at, and we only go up.
Yeah.
You set the party rule clear, and we all follow, and it's the best.
And Jason does the same thing with his speeches.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And Mark Andrade does it with the music, and then we're all good.
What am I doing at this
Trifecta.
part? What am I doing at this party? Oh my God.
I was trying to think about like how you'd be the one standing by the kitchen door, being like, "Excuse me, excuse me." You keep bringing in the appetizers, and you keep walking directly over there.
I was gonna say something about food too, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna say it.
Maybe turn to your left when you come out the door sometimes to give the appetizers to this side of the room.
First of all, Jason, you and I have both been at the same wedding where the food was not plentiful enough, and you and I were ruining the vibe for each of the tables we were at together.
Oh, I would 100% be right beside you, being like, "And what the fuck is this? How small are these appetizers?"
But then when push comes to shove, Jason would be like, Stacey did the whole thing. She just wouldn't shut up about it. We were all in agreement. She needed to stop. Okay, so
Broccoli puffs. Come on.
oh my God.
Gross.
Okay, so I need to. I guess we're coming close to the end. Is there anything that we want to fully unpack? I mean, I could talk about this show forever. I think that
Oh,
there's so much
yes.
to it.
Please hold.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Okay, good.
I'll do it again. Okay, and what do we have here? Oh, what is
Whoa.
this? You're a
So,
little pixelated.
Yeah, the reason why I'm wearing this camo one,
Okay.
right, is because I want to talk about guns in America.
Please.
Tiger King is literally, I think we probably saw a round shot off in Tiger King, maybe every other episode.
100%.
For sure.
Yeah.
Just
100%.
everybody had weapons. And when Exotic goes to the gun shop and just is a regular and just needs X amount of clips, that to me is shocking and scary.
His
Oh, yeah.
campaign manager was his gun guy at Walmart.
Yes.
What?
Yeah. So this guy was into politics and got talking with Joe, and then Joe was like, "Hey, I'm gonna run," and he was like, "Okay," but he was the gun guy at Walmart.
And when he said I talked to him about politics, think about the conversations they had. For sure, it was like, these bastards are trying to take our guns. Yeah, that's the politics. That's what he meant by politics.
Yeah, probably.
They own more guns than they own toothbrushes. Like, that's the way it works in wherever they're from. Everybody owned a gun. Carol Baskin had a gun, like, and she's supposed to be the nice one.
Every single one, even we haven't even scratched the surface on Doc Antle. I mean, like,
I was just gonna bring him up too. South Carolina native. Yep.
yeah, and he had like the harem of women that were just so they all dressed like sexy Halloween costume women, and
Yeah.
like, but
And did you see the houses though that they lived in?
yes,
Nice.
huge.
Those are.
It was like the
huge.
righteous gemstones.
It was
Yeah.
like there, and there was like a cult compound. They all have them. Joe just had the shittiest one.
But it's like, how in a movie like this, like, everyone keeps listing off all the things that Joe Exotic is, because it's like, oh yeah, and that's just the one person. He's this whatever. But like, Doc Antle, is that his name?
Yeah,
Yeah.
If you saw him alone, you'd be like, that's the nuttiest thing I've ever seen. He seems like the most sane one out of all of them in a weird way.
Seems like
He's
it.
a
Yeah.
ponytail cult leader with a bunch of young wives that he just gives like breast implants to. And he's the sane one. He seemed to be the voice of
But
reason half the time.
The thing
very
is,
articulate.
very articulate, but also like truly a scammer criminal. Like, I think the reason Joe's so mad and is like, I'm taking everyone down, is he was doing. What are you giggling at?
You just triggered another memory of the show in my mind that we haven't even touched on, which is
What?
insane. The live Chucky doll. Who is that guy's name? He just looked like, oh God. Joe Exotic, actually, for everything he was, had the best, when he went off, he had the best burns on people ever. He would just be like, oh, that guy, the live Chucky doll. I was like, that's probably the best burn you could have given that guy.
Oh,
do you know what
James
I'm talking about, Steve?
James Garretson?
Yes.
Oh,
James.
maybe.
He's the one that turned them all in,
The
essentially, by the
businessman.
end of it.
It literally just says under his name, businessman.
Also,
He looks like Haley Joel Osment grown up and puffed up with a basketball pump or something. Like, that's kind of what he looked like.
I do want to bring up in the chat that someone said that, you remember that famous, I think it's American Music Awards or MTV Awards, whatever, where Britney Spears has the big snake? That was Doc Antle's snake.
I heard. Yeah. And there's a picture of him behind her with the tiger, and I can't remember what the event is for, but she's like performing, and he's behind her with the tiger. It's crazy. These people have been in our lives, and we didn't even know it.
I know.
They were there the whole time.
It's so wild.
Goddamn time.
And I will say,
Elizabeth's right too. Like, Doc Antle was kind of like directing himself within it at one point. He's like spells his name out and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
Insane.
Where he's like, in action. Wait, let me take that one more time. Action. Hey, my name's Doc. And one more time.
Sound speeding? Are we speeding? Okay.
Oh my God. Oh, Bonnie
I know
said,
that I'm just catching up on the chat. There's so much in here today, but like,
That's great.
Black Ron, Sharon, and Potato Dave at a wedding. That's the pilot episode.
Oh,
right there.
100%. Doc Antle is, first of all, he has facial hair that John Travolta would pay for and has. Just a weird strip. But he was really gross. But I feel like he's a criminal. They're all criminals. They're all
everybody in this was a criminal.
None of those. And the thing that was crazy about this whole docuseries is the first episode, you're like, oh, those poor animals. And they become a backstory to everything.
Yeah, I felt that was really crazy too. The idea that obviously, like most or hopefully like everybody, you're scared for these animals.
Yeah.
But then it's all of a sudden quickly not about them, and it's obviously the conditions that they end up living in that becomes revealed later on after each episode. You realize their conditions just get really, really poor, but at the beginning, they all had a great life. It looked like, you know what I mean, quote unquote.
But they were talking about
sad.
like Doc Antle at that 6-month mark or 12-week mark or whatever it was. He's like, oh great, now they're no longer profitable, so I'm just going to put them in this incinerator. Like
they're no longer what?
Allegedly.
They're no longer what? Profitable.
At that profitable. What did I say?
Profitable.
Give me a break. This shirt's getting too long. It's going to be a nightgown. I got to make a nightgown now.
And another quick fact before we wrap this up or whatever the deal is that there's, I believe it's 10,000 tigers or wild animals in captivity, and then there's only 3,000 to 4,000 in the world. Like like in the wild world, America has 10,000
because they're breeding them, and I'm wondering, and I would be curious about their survival in the wild. Like, the thing about it is, like, and allegedly, please don't come after me, but I question Big Cat Rescue. I really don't think it's like the most welcoming conservatory for big cats. It's a zoo, it seems like. But like I feel like they're breeding them, but they couldn't survive by themselves. I don't think. Yeah. It's sad. It's really sad. And it's currency, right? It's like, do you want to pet this baby tiger? And if, everyone's going to say, yeah. I mean, hopefully not anymore. I mean, zoos are sad.
I think, wasn't Big Cat Rescue like their tickets, or no, it was Joe Exotic's tickets were like $350 per head or something?
Yeah, it was something kind of crazy. And then like, yeah, I'd be curious if Olivia remembers how much it was, but it was expensive. Mm-hmm. And the gift shop, I mean, was just like condoms.
Boxers?
G-strings, yeah.
Yeah, G-strings, my bad. Yeah, boxers, that's too much material.
I knew that, well, do you guys remember when Joe Exotic was like, if it came between you and those tigers, I would shoot you before those tigers? And then he gets on, he gets in the ring where he's got spam on his shoes or whatever, and he instantly goes to shoot the tiger. He was like, "I'll fucking shoot you in the face." It's like,
Fucking shoot you.
I'm gonna shoot you, god damn it!
I'll
Ouch!
fucking shoot you. Get out of here. Get out of here. I'll fucking shoot you.
You know what's the worst thing is? I'd watch this guy stand up in a heartbeat. I
Hey
don't care
y'all.
what he says. I'm gonna laugh for sure.
At the comedy cellar.
Hey y'all,
That's
how
what
you guys doing tonight? You guys remember? You guys know when you fall in love with two straight men, so you give them meth so they'll marry you? You know how it is. What's in the news? What's in the news? Carol Baskins is still alive. Oh my god.
Also, they never really addressed it, but at one point in the show, he's like, "I'm gonna put these poisonous snakes in her mailbox." She got poisonous snakes in her mailbox. Like,
again-
how was he not?
And this
already
is
in
how
jail
she's
at some
psychotic.
point?
I think she was oddly into it. She goes, "Well, yeah, you know, I opened up the mailbox and I had a couple snakes in there. You know,
Oh,
it's
the
just
whole will they or
annoying."
won't they thing.
Yeah. Will they, won't they? Oh, and Shauna says, can we just quickly discuss how Joe Exotic admits he does not wear underwear?
Oh yeah, and then his like sinister laugh
Commando.
after it.
Yeah.
I don't, because I don't wear it.
You know me, y'all. One pair of pants, never any undies. What's going on? It's just disgusting. Oh God. Oh, yeah.
Jameson also wants to know if we've been to African lion safari, and I think I did go as a child.
I went as a
Yeah.
child, and I did. Yeah, it's a bummer story. I won't. I won't tell you. It was
no.
quite
I think they're all
sad.
bummer stories. These are the memories. Like if you went to Joe Exotic's thing, you're not remembering that as your pinnacle of your time as a child. You're like, Jesus Christ, why did my parents take me there?
Yeah.
I definitely went because I'm from Cambridge, Ontario. Shout out to the 519. So African Lion Safari was literally only I think 25 minutes from my place.
Jesus.
So yeah, yeah, it's definitely a kiddie brag. We didn't go a lot, but I've been multiple times, and I've seen a lot of cars get fucked up.
I believe it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like we
It
put
was
too much
fun.
trust into these people that are like, I think I'm gonna open a zoo with tigers. Oh, I'll go trust. This is safe. They for sure have made it safe. It's like no, there's a kid that gets bit and they've taped it at one point.
I've also
I'm like,
seen. Also, the animals are really sad. I mean, like, I definitely did cry during this doc when, Joe was talking about finally releasing the chimps to a conservatory, and they finally hugged, and they had been in a cage beside each other for 10 years, and it's like these
Right.
animals are so sad. Like, not to leave it on a downer, but they're not. I mean, like zoos and stuff are not great. People, they're just
Yeah,
not.
Like earlier, I mentioned like the perception. I should use that word first. The perception is that they are treated well. Like that's
Totally.
what it looks like, the facade of it, right?
100%.
But obviously, there's been so much investigative reporting, and we know
Mhm.
what the hell is really happening behind the scenes, especially at that kind of place where nothing is certified, man. Like,
Nothing. You know. So yeah, it was crazy. I mean, again, we could talk about this. We could do a full week of just unpacking the multitudes of this series, but I think it was really interesting, and you know, people like that exist, and like again, we don't need a TV series. This was
Nah.
thrilling enough. And do you think Carol Baskins is going to end up in jail for murdering her husband allegedly?
No.
Allegedly,
Probably not.
you don't think?
I don't think she's. I don't even know if she's guilty. I know that it sounds crazy, but I don't know if she's guilty.
She knows more than what she's saying. At the
For sure. I
at the
think they'll
very
open up an
least.
investigation.
They
Yeah.
did this
Oh,
week.
sorry. You guys said that last week. My bad. Yeah.
They reopened the investigation. I just think there's too much stuff happening. There was too much, like, she was too ahead of everything. I
Oh
think.
yeah.
What?
And this is another down because when the babies were born and he kind of like took them underneath that fence at one point and be like, great, oh, this one's a good one. Oh, it's a boy. And I was like, oh, this is.
Yeah, it's not great. It's really sad, and these aren't great people. And it's like I think Cardi B is like trying to start a fund to get Joe Exotic out of prison, and like him at the end being like,
What?
I'm in a cage. This is terrible. And I'm like, he's not a good person.
They're
But,
gonna
like,
do a duo album together, Cardi B and Joe Exotic. It's
For
gonna
sure.
be terrible.
I think that he fell on a lot of swords that people were also doing, but he was irresponsible. I also think he did want to murder Carol Baskin, so I think that like he should be in jail. Also, like his
Yes.
relations with these young boys, it's just not great. And I think behind bars is where he's sort of, unfortunately.
This is the supersize me of the cat world.
What?
Did you watch Super Size Me when they came out? It was all about that
Yeah.
guy, just Murdoch, whatever.
All right, sorry.
Downey
I'm
and-
just gonna get comfortable for this long walk. Here we go. Yeah.
Everybody after that was like, McDonald's? Are you serious? Do you know what it does to your body? I'm like, you're eating a Whopper. Burger King's no different. It's just like he put a name to it because McDonald's was the biggest franchise. All fast food's bad, but like if you ate carrots 24/7 every day, like that, and that's all you ate, you'd get sick. So like Joe Exotic, you're right, fell on swords the same way like McDonald's. Poor McDonald's had to fall on his sword.
Oh my God, I can't.
The sword, the equivalent of a toothpick. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it was quite the time. So this was a really fun chat. The chat was so fun today. Nigel is. I think we covered. I mean, we were just chatting about it. Really, we weren't doing an official breakdown per episode. If you guys want that, we'll have Nigel come back and we'll do more Tiger. Oh my gosh!
Hey,
Look at
Karen,
this.
This is
what's
the
up,
first.
bro?
Look at this precious
You wanna say
treasure.
hi?
Yeah. Yeah, that was half of the word. Oh, that's
Yeah.
cute. Look at the little Tiger King, the LA Tiger King. He's so cute. I can't. It makes my heart hurt. Oh, it makes my heart hurt. Okay,
Amazing.
so Nigel, I'm gonna put up your
I'm
little.
gonna have my CNN moment in a minute. Jenny's gonna rush in here and like
He's-
a nanny. And
Well, I
rip
was gonna.
Maddie.
I was gonna talk. Look at you can see the balls behind Jay. Can you see
He's
it?
playing basketball.
Perfect timing.
So
Perfect.
You watch
Ni-
Space Jam, and if you know Space Jam, it starts out with a young Michael Jordan playing basketball at midnight, and his dad comes out and goes, "What are you doing out here?"
Yeah.
So the first night after he watched it, I woke up to a sound of basketballs, and he was in his room playing basketball. He's like, "Gotta get good, Dad." I was like,
He's a
I was
DeRoss.
like, I hate to break this to you, but like, I can tell you from your dad's body, you're never gonna be Michael Jordan.
Son, have you ever heard of the shortest man alive? Well, that's me. So, well, okay. So, Nigel, I'm going to put a little screen up with your Twitter and your Instagram. But where else can we find you?
Oh man, go on and get for all those Canadian watchers. You guys can watch a brother, myself, and also a gentleman by the name of Chris Siddiqui, also Second City alum.
Woo,
You can find us
woo.
on CBC Gem on a show called Bit Players. It's free. Go watch it. Go lap it up. 8 episodes. It's a real quick watch. For the Americans, I believe that we're coming to Amazon. So check out Amazon.
That's
it should be
amazing.
there sometime today, maybe tomorrow, but it should be there. So go watch or go Google Bit Players. It is online right now. Also, DeRoss, you mentioned Jordan. They are moving up his documentary, the Netflix movie. What's it called? The Last Dance or something, or the Last something.
Not
It
to
was
break Michael
April
Jordan in that.
16th. It's coming back April 16th. And it's going to be fantastic. So check out that Jordan thing. And last but not least,
Yes.
Now, did you have
Oh.
anything to pump? Well,
Oh,
this is
hold
what I'm
on.
really excited about. Michael Jordan's new documentary.
I love that near the end. Oh, here we go. Oh, ooh.
just wanted to tell you how much I miss sports. I miss my my TFC, my team. So I thought I'd
Oh,
run my
that's
camo version of
nice.
this cap right here.
This
you know
is
what I
so
mean?
nice.
And bam, kids, this is coming at you.
Oh
It's coming at you.
my God.
The
Potato.
logos for Potato Dave.
I love that I have
Oh.
3 fingers. Potato Dave is actually a character now.
I love
This
that
is-
Potato Dave is potato. I love that. Oh
Yeah,
my
so-
God.
And I started this one too. I started with a little bit of
Oh my
little bit
God.
of sharing action.
We love this.
So
Oh,
it's coming at you. So hopefully by midweek, end of the week, I'll have something designed
Oh.
and you guys can have at it.
oh my God. Everyone follow Nigel. I can't believe Potato Dave. And I also look forward to Black Ron.
Oh yeah, that one's coming too.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
yeah, all
Okay,
three of
good,
them.
good,
All
good.
3 of them.
Okay, because we all need to see all 3 of them. Olivia says this was her first time watching the live, and it was so much fun. That's so nice.
Oh great.
If you're listening to this on the podcast and you're going, what happened? And why did it sound like people were moving around so much? We were. So you can watch it at youtube.com. I would say /the regulars. That will happen hopefully in a month when we hit 100 subscribers, which is what we have to do. But the link will be in the description below. Follow Nigel. He's an incredible photographer. Literally follow his Instagram and Twitter. So funny.
Nice.
Bit Players is incredible. And we'll post everything for him below in the description. Jay, is there anything you want to say?
Everybody stay sane, stay healthy, like stay home, man. Like we're doing this and it's great. consider it a staycation.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. It's Carol at Big Cat Rescue.
And we're telling you to stay home, okay? Because we're all getting loopy in our house, and Nigel's only got so many posters he can exchange the next time we talk to him on the live stream. Okay, everyone. Well, this was like so fun. Thank you for everyone being in the chat. Thank you to Nigel for joining us for this very funny breakdown of Tiger King. And
Thanks for having me, kids.
we will see you all tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern Time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.